Chapter 13. Training Camp. Damn it, I broke it already, Midoriya shouted as he sat up looking at his new alarm clock. It was now in shatters. Midoriya just got up, dressed, and went to class. Eventually, we time skipped to them inside of the bus, seeing as they're now on their way to the training camp. When are we going to get off this bus? Midoriya thought, until eventually, they made it there. Once they ended up arriving, eventually the Wild Pussycats would end up throwing all of his classmates off the roof, and Izuku would be the only one there. He would turn back to see Aizawa, and he'd be pinching the side of his nose, thinking to himself, why do I even? As he would look at him and say, Midoriya, just go down there. You're supposed to be there with your classmates. Midoriya just looked at him and said, do I have to? And Aizawa said, yes. Midoriya huffed, but eventually jumped down, landing on the mountain safely. Hours later would finally happen, and eventually, Izuku would catch a glimpse of all the people behind the hill. He realizes that Aizawa was there, and so are the Wild Cats. Eventually, his classmates would be like, how are you able to run? We've been out here for hours. Denki yelled towards Midoriya. I have good stamina, I guess, Midoriya answered. Finally, his classmates made it up the hill, covered in sweat and out of breath. Midoriya again didn't listen to what the pussycat said. Instead, he stared at the little boy who stared right back at him. Midoriya, you listening? Aizawa said. My bad. Hey, I was wondering, who's that kid? Midoriya said while pointing to the little boy. That's Koda, Mandalay said. Midoriya walked up to the boy, bending down to his level. Hey Koda, I'm Midoriya. Koda then aimed the punch at Midoriya's lower region, but Midoriya caught the fist. Nice to meet you too, Koda. Midoriya then let go of the kid's hand, for he seemed frightened. He walked back to his classmates, and he said, Wait, are you Izuku Midoriya? Reject! Midoriya looked at the kid. Fanboy, I see. Been a while since I was referred to that name. You can call me that, kiddo. Midoriya winked at the kid, and then walked back to his classmates, towards the kitchen where they'd cook. After eating, Midoriya headed to the jacuzzi, where everyone else was, and eventually the situation that goes down in canon with Mineta being a complete you-know-what happens. And eventually, after all that happens, we kind of just time skip straight to when Izuku goes over, catches Koda, and then would pretty much be told about Koda's situation, right? It's pretty sad. I mean, he thinks about it, and eventually we time skip to the next day. Midoriya walked out to the area where 1A was meant to meet, and he saw Aizawa along with Vlad in Class 1B. He thinks to himself, I guess this isn't too bad. Could be worse. Midoriya thought as he walked over to Aizawa to see what he'd been training. Look, it's Midoriya, the kid who threatened and fought me. Midoriya turned around to see Monoma. I jinxed it. Midoriya just flipped the kid off and walked to Aizawa. Sensei, what should I be training? Aizawa turned towards Midoriya. Work on your aim with knives, I guess. Or leg and arm strength. You do it any way you want. Aizawa said and waved Midoriya off. Midoriya went into the forest, got his knives out, and started carving targets into trees. He threw his first knife and headed dead center. Okay, arm strength and leg strength it is. Midoriya climbed the tree, swinging from branch to branch, and eventually Aizawa called everyone back to the main area so that they could start cooking again. I wonder where that kid is. Midoriya looked around to see the kid running away. I'll take him a plate. Midoriya grabbed the second plate and went towards the kid where he ran. From Shoto's POV, I got my plate, sat with Araraka and Ida. Where's he going? Araraka said, pointing in a direction. I turned around to see Midoriya walking somewhere. I don't know, I said, a bit annoyed. She was even still interested in him. He seems to be interested in that Koda kid. I wonder what's so interesting about him, Ida said. I just ate my food and closed out the two conversations. From Midoriya's POV, I followed a path that led to this huge area where I saw Koda laying. Mind if I join you? I brought food, I said. Koda jumped. Reject, how'd you find me? Did Mandalay tell you where my hiding place was? Nah, I may or may not have followed you. You want the food? I said, holding it out to him. He took it. What do you want? Koda said. I know what happened to your parents. I know who he is and who he works for, I said while staring at the sky. I heard the boy spit out his water. Mandalay told you, didn't she? Koda seemed very angry, but I kept calm, still staring at the sky. She did. Don't get mad at her though. Just remember, they became heroes for you. They wanted to protect you. You don't know that. They abandoned me, Koda yelled. I looked at him, and he had tears streaming down his face. The kid's going to go make me go soft, Midoriya thought. I do know though. Don't tell anyone, but my mom was a vigilante before me. She could have died or been caught at any point. She didn't just do it only for the people, but she did it for me. Same situation with you and your parents, Kota. They protected you, Midoriya said. Kota was sobbing. He tackled Midoriya into a hug. Midoriya couldn't help but hug him back. That kid, he reminds me of myself. Maybe that's why I'm going soft. Let's head back, Kota. It's getting late. Chapter 14, Future Heroes. Okay, we jump back right to where after Midoriya would have told him to go back, and he and Kota were joking about his vigilante experiences. Then the man shouted, "That's me, money." Honestly, then the man shouted, "That's me, money." Honestly, he reminded me of Mr. Krabs, I said. Kota bursted into laughter. I felt eyes on us, so I looked up to see Mandalay staring at us as we approached the area. Kota, Midoriya, you both seem to be getting along, Mandalay said, smiling greatly at Kota and me. Kota tried acting serious, but ended up bursting into laughter. I'm glad I got that kid to laugh, I thought. Midoriya, can I speak to you alone? Kota, head inside. It's pretty late, Mandalay said. Me and Mandalay watched as Kota ran off. So, what did you want to talk about, Mandalay? I said. Then she burst into tears. I'll admit I'm not the best at comforting others, so I awkwardly pat her back. I'm fine, I'm okay. Thank you, Midoriya. I haven't seen Kota so happy in what seems like forever, Mandalay said. Oh, it was nothing really. I was interrupted by Kota running by us towards his hideout. I forgot something. I'll be quick, Kota said while running off. Oh yeah, we kind of started our activity for tonight. Aizawa excused you from it, so don't worry, Midoriya. So I should be good to sleep? Showing emotions is so exhausting. That's nice. I'm heading to sleep. I'm exhausted, I said as I waved back to Mandalay. I was about to walk away when I felt something weird. Burning. I turned to see smoke coming out of the forest. Say, Mandalay, does the activity have anything to do with smoke and fire? I screamed and panicked. I'm going into the forest to check it out. Go get Kota. I nodded. I ran towards the hideout. From Kota's POV, he would think, I can't believe I spoke to the reject. And then, suddenly, Muscular would then rush at Kota and would be on some, I'm gonna kill you typing, you know what I mean? He freezes terrified, and right when he was about to punch him, it never happened. I opened my eyes to see Midoriya. Reject! Kota, get behind me, Reject said. I did. How is he gonna beat this guy? From Midoriya's POV, he would think, what is this thing? As he pulled out a knife. You think a little dagger will do the job? Look at me and look at you. Wait, you're on Shigaraki's list. This is gonna be fun, the man said, now smiling wickedly. List? What list? Then he charged me. I grabbed Kota and jumped over him. Don't dodge, you'll make me angry, the man said. Kota, run! Go back to the campsite, I promise I'll make it. Kota froze. Poor kid's in shock. Kota, hurry! I was then slammed into a wall, my ears immediately ringing. I looked up to see Muscular Man walking over slowly to Kota. I can't let him die, he's a kid, he's scared. My ears stopped ringing for a second. Go away, Kota yelled as he sprayed water out of his hands. My eyes widened. I snapped. Pay attention to the threat, I said while smiling almost insanely. As I went behind him, going for his throat, slicing it. He immediately went limp, falling with impact, sending Kota flying off the cliff. I caught him though. Reject, you're covered in blood. You're hurt. Why did you do that for me? Kota yelled. I rolled my eyes. Hurry and get on my back. Questions later. Let's take you back to camp. Kota then hopped on my back and I ran through the forest towards the camp. Honestly, y'all, that's a very interesting way to get rid of Muscular. Catch him off guard while he's distracted, because if it wasn't for that, I promise you, this version of Deku, I have no idea how he would have beat him, because it doesn't sound like he even has his hero costume. It sounded like all he had was that dagger and his training, and I'm sorry, but there's no world where he was going to beat him. Anyways, afterwards, Kota would say, look, as he would then point to Aizawa, and then he would realize that they were about to fight against somebody. This is when he would then run off towards the direction of his classmates, and from Aizawa's POV, he would think to himself, get back here. From here, a bunch of villains would attack, and Aizawa would then inform everybody that this is not a drill. The villains are finally attacking. Chapter 15, Switch. From Midoriya's POV, once Mandalay finished telling everyone with the telepathy, he would run off in the direction where he heard commotion. I turned back to say something to Mandalay when I was faced with a person about to throw a knife at me, only for it to be stopped by another villain. "Don't! That's Reject! Stain used to respect him a ton," the villain said to the other. He turned to look at me, and I just winked. "Mandalay, code is safe. I'm gonna make sure everyone else is okay." I then run off. "Tokiyami, calm down, it's okay." That voice sounds like Shoji. I run towards the voice only to be greeted by a large shadow figure about to attack. Then Shoji picks me up and runs with me on his back. "Midoriya, you are in no condition to be out here," Shoji says while trying to avoid Tokiyami's attacks. "Is that Dark Shadow? He lost control, didn't he?" I say while looking back, hearing Tokiyami repeatedly apologizing. "His weakness is lice, but we're nowhere near fire in the forest and we both can't produce any light," I thought. Then suddenly I heard explosions. "Bakugo! Shoji, head towards the explosions." From Shoto's POV, they would both be facing off against them, and eventually they would finally end up arriving there, eventually leading to the same situation that happens just like in canon, where eventually what pretty much would end up going down is that Shoji would finally get Tokiyami to calm down, and Shoto would fail to get Bakugo. Afterwards, what would end up going down is that Todoroki would then be told, "Such a shame," as Dabi would fall. "Release him," Dabi says to Compress, in which Compress does. Bakugo is led out of the marvel, and immediately Dabi places his hand around Bakugo's neck. I jump into action running towards him. No, I can't let him go. He's right there, I think, as I continue sprinting what I have left. Suddenly Dabi pushes Bakugo out of the way and reaches out for me. He grabs a hold of my arm and burns it. I scream and try to push away from his grip, but he's too strong. "You're coming with us, Midoriya," Dabi whispers. I'm then forced to go through the portal. I see what looks like a bar, and then my vision goes black. Alright boys, so the reason that I didn't exactly cover it completely is because if you've seen my videos, you know exactly how this goes. You've seen the series. It's basically just the same series, but switching from POVs. That's all that really happens. I mean, Deku comes in, they end up making their way towards Moonfish, Tokiyami goes crazy, he defeats him, Mr. Compress comes in and takes Tokiyami and Bakugo. You know, what pretty much ends up going down after that is that Deku rushes in, you know, he's trying to grab a hold of Bakugo. They luckily save Tokiyami, but ultimately Bakugo would still be taken, and after all of that would end up happening, at the end of it, Deku would be taken in by the portal. And that's the summarization of what happens there. Next chapter. Chapter 16. Mom. No, I can't let them go. He's right here, I think, as I continue sprinting with everything I have left. "You're coming with us, Midoriya," Dabi whispers. Recap end. Shigaraki's POV. Before the training camp attack. "Now that we got the plan out of the way, let's discuss who we're capturing. I say, I believe we should go after Katsuki Bakugo. He did win the sports festival," Kurigiri says. "We should go after Shoto Todoroki. He's quite powerful. His performance at the festival was incredible. We should go after no one. This is ridiculous," Dabi says while rolling his eyes. And eventually, Shigaraki would end up saying that they need to go after Reject and Bakugo, saying that they like that plan. Eventually, Shigaraki would tell them not to fail him, and afterwards, they finally make their way back. Midoriya from here says, "Shoji!" he would shout as the portal closes. "We were tricked," I say, tearing up. I hear commotion in the woods. I look over to see Uraraka and Sue running over. "Yes, we got Bakugo and Tokiyami back." "Wait, where's Midoriya?" Uraraka says. "They took him," Bakugo says, while standing up and walking away from us. "You seem to not even care, Bakugo. He risked his life for you," in an angry tone which shocks everyone. "You don't think I care?" Bakugo says, turning towards us to see tears streaming down his face. "Bakugo, I'm sorry. Just forget it," Bakugo says while walking towards the camp. We all watch as he leaves. "Let's head back. Don't want to risk anything," Tokiyami says while standing up and walking. We all follow. I didn't even want to apologize. We were approaching the camp when we hear, "Look, it's Bakugo and the others," Kirishima says. "What happened?" Aizawa says, noticing our teary eyes and bad moods. "Midoriya. They took him," Uraraka says. I look up to see Aizawa with wide eyes. "The villains outsmarted us," I say. "He saved me," Bakugo says. From Midoriya's POV, he would see nothing. "I can't see. My head. What happened? The League. They got me," I thought. Then I heard someone or something walking towards me. Midoriya, welcome to the League of Villains hideout. They then unblindfolded me, and Then the blindfold they had on me was disintegrated. Right. I look around to see a majority of the league members. Get to the point, hand fetish, I say in a bored tone. Shigaraki takes offense to my comment and lunges at me. Calm down, Shigaraki. He just woke up, Kurogiri says, as he makes a portal in front of Shigaraki, blocking his way to me. So why am I here? I say. I look at my arms and legs, and they're tied to a wooden chair. These guys are idiots, I think to myself, as I stand up in the chair and smash it against the wall. Maybe you should have made sure that chair was embedded into the ground, I say as I break the ropes off of my arms. I look around the room to see people in shock. I walk over to the bar casually. Can I have a water? I ask Kurogiri. He just stares at me. My bad. Can I please have a water? I say. Kurogiri nods and Shigaraki glares at him. You think this is a game, reject? Shigaraki asks as he walks towards me. I start backing up. If that's meant to be taken as a game, then I think I'm winning. I then bump into the wall behind me. Or not. I think as I turn back to meet Shigaraki's gaze, his hand on my face with the pinky up. His hand moves from my face to my shoulder, placing all fingers down. I hiss in pain, legs starting to shake. I fall to my knees, eyes starting to fill with tears as I watch my shoulder skin disintegrate. I'm so dead. Shigaraki, we need this boy, I hear someone say, but I look around the room to see them staring at a TV. Shigaraki quickly lets go of me. Master, I apologize. I let my anger get to me. It won't happen again, Shigaraki says, clearly frightened. I just stand there confused, but I start looking for an exit. I see that Stitch Face is blocking the exit. Good. Now Midoriya, listen. I hear my name and I go pale. Shigaraki grabs my arms with 4 fingers and makes me sit right in front of the TV. Speak, Shigaraki says. TV man? I say sarcastically, which earns a smack in the back of the head from Shigaraki. I chuckle. Midoriya, we want you to join the league. This time, you don't have a choice. What are you talking about? The TV screen then shows someone. My mom. She has a knife to... Whoa, that's a plot twist. My mom. She has a knife to her throat. That's Toga. Damn you, Toga. One slash and she's a goner. She says. I would then think to myself, what do I do? And then I hear, so Midoriya, will you abandon your mother once again? Or will you save her this time? My eyes widen by his choice of words. But he's right. I feel my eyes fill with tears as I look at my mom. I can't abandon her this time. I'm sorry, Yue. They don't care though, right? They never really spoke to me anyways, I think. Fine, I'll join. Leave her out of this. I want to see Toga leave the room and come back to this bar, I say. I can just feel Shigaraki's gaze pierce me as I say those words. Deal. Toga, leave her and head back to base, the man says. His words make me shiver. Why? Who is this guy? I watch as Toga leaves, my mom causing her to start sobbing. Then, the TV shuts off. Some time passes when Toga enters the bar. I will stop by soon. Confirmation. You're joining, correct? I can't believe I'm putting myself through this. Yeah, I'll join. That was a good chapter. Chapter 17, Countdown. Okay, warning will be given during chapter. Torture, gore. Man, we love all that stuff. Anyways, I will stop soon. Confirmation. You're joining, correct? Okay, anyways. Shoto's POV. Okay, they're all talking about things. Bakugo's mad. How could you do that to him? Just because he's quirkless doesn't make him useless. I say angrily. Okay, wait. I'm actually going to read this part. It looks like it's interesting, actually. Shoto's POV at the hospital. Shoto's staring at Bakugo sitting on the hospital bed while being surrounded. He just told us his backstory with Midoriya. I don't know about everyone else, but me? I'm beyond pissed. How could you do that to him? Just because he's quirkless doesn't make him useless. I say angrily. Shoto, calm down. I think he's learned from his mistakes. Right, Bakugo? Kirishima says while holding me back. I did, but that doesn't change the fact that I did it. Honestly, I just wish I could have apologized, Bakugo says. You guys are acting as if he's dead. He's strong, Uraraka says with a smile. Just because he's strong doesn't mean they won't kill him. If anything, it gives them more of a reason to kill him, I say as I watch her smile fade away. I overheard something about Momo putting a tracker on a member of the league, Jiro suddenly says. Then can we help him? Kirishima says. It's risky, but just like Bakugo, I have to apologize for what I did to him. I say, no, Shoto, I won't let you make the same mistake I made, Ida says while walking up to me. It's a rescue mission. It doesn't have to involve fighting, I say back. Calm down, both of you, I hear Uraraka say as she separates us. What if he joins the league? Bakugo says. This causes silence upon the room. We can't think like that. We have to have faith in him. Yes, he wasn't the brightest person, but what makes you think he'd become a villain? He's sure bubbly. Weird, I think to myself as I stare at him. It's the hard truth, but now knowing all this horrible stuff about his past, what makes you think they don't know? They can use it against him. Anything he cares about. He was a vigilante, so I don't doubt he had a few run-ins with these guys, I say. Midoriya's POV. Oh, by the way, this is the first warning. I drink the glass of water Kurogiri gave me as I sit next to Toga. She's just eyeing me down with her bubbly eyes. So, Izuku, what nicknames do you have? Toga suddenly asks. Don't call me by my first name. Also, why are you so interested? I ask while staring down into her eyes. I don't know. I'm so bored waiting for All for One to arrive. That name makes me shiver. I know him. All for One, I say, grabbing Shigaraki's attention. He doesn't say anything, but he just stares at me as I am now shaking. He's amused. All for One's the guy who injured All Might that one time. He's a threat. He wants me. Why? I think to myself. Calm down, Midoriya. I'm sure his plans aren't that bad, Kurogiri says as he refills my water. You don't even know his plans? I ask, trying to hide my stutter, but failing miserably. Kurogiri shakes his head no in response. I start shaking more aggressively. Damn it, I look so weak, I think to myself. Toga grabs my hand. I try to yank it from her, but I can see her eyes. She looks concerned. Hey, calm down. I'm sure it's nothing serious. Honestly, for a kid, you have good knife skills. No one here in the league has been able to hit me. She's trying to get my mind off of it. I smile at her kindness before realizing she's a villain. Why are you being kind? I'm not saying it's uncommon for villains to be kind. I'm just saying it because we literally just fought, I say. She laughs, and honestly, it makes my heart warm a bit. Cute. Wait a damn minute. What am I doing? I think to myself as I stand up and walk away from her. She looks at me in shock and then she smirks. We're getting somewhere too, she says while walking towards me, knife in hand. You manipulative, I say as I grab a knife and throw it at her. She does the same. Then portals appear where the knife should have landed. Both of you stop, Kurogiri says. He's here, Shigaraki then says, and he walks towards me quickly, putting his hand around my neck before I can even think, with a pinky up. He sure does like that pinky, huh? I think to myself. Dabi, come on. He wants you too, Shigaraki says. Dabi's eyes go wide. He stares at me and mouths, sorry. Sorry for what? My thoughts are interrupted by Shigaraki forcing me to move. Watch it, will you? I yell towards him. I look at his face and he's smiling down at me creepily. My eyes widen. What's gonna happen to me? We approach a door. Dabi opens the door to reveal a white room. In the room, a table with restraints and a man with a mask. I'm going to regret this. My eyes widen once I recognize the man. All for One. Lay him on the table, All for One says. Shigaraki drags me towards the table. Tears start to fill my eyes. Stop! No! I don't want to! Tears now start streaming down my eyes, but it took a while, but they finally strapped me down. Dabi, stay here. Shigaraki, you can go, All for One says. Have fun, Shigaraki says while smiling. He shuts the door, locking it, and I turn to All for One to see what he's doing. He's walking towards me with something behind his back. This is a warning, some torture will happen here. Get away, I yell as he approaches. He pulls down my hoodie sleeve and reveals my wrist. Looks like you've already been cutting. I'll just add to it, All for One says while taking out a knife from behind his back. He then proceeds to do a bunch of bad stuff. And eventually, after all of this stuff happens, he would then start counting 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. And then at this point, Midoriya is just starting to shake violently. He then tells him, calm down or we're starting over again. 3. Detroit Smash! Am I going crazy now, I think? But I'm not. I look at All for One and Dabi. Their eyes widen. I smirk. He's still counting. Shouldn't he be running like all villains? 1. Okay, Dobby, let him go. He's strong enough for it. Let's retreat somewhere else. Then I'll inject him. All for One says. I look at my neck. What in the... I look like Dobby 2.0. Wait, retreat? Huh. My thoughts are interrupted as my face is covered in a black blob. I watch as last second, All Might enters the white room. I reach for him, but all of a sudden I'm in a new location. Immediately, I start coughing and gasping for air. I hear someone walking over to me. All for One, go away, I say, not even having to look up at him. Hold him, Shigaraki, All for One says. I try to jump back, but that's exactly where Shigaraki was. He puts his hand around my neck. Why are my reflexes so slow? I shout. Shigaraki laughs as he tightens his grip. I've already injected you with something, that's why. Anyways, stay still for me, All for One says as he approaches with the syringe, staring into my eyes, causing me to freeze. His eyes, so calming. That's right, good job. This will hurt a bit. I mean a lot, All for One says, now injecting me. Shigaraki immediately lets go and lets me fall to the ground. My head starts getting dizzy. I feel like I'm spinning. I then get a severe headache causing me to scream, and my body feels like it's on fire. My ears ring, my vision gets blurry, and then I start coughing up blood. My head then gets lifted up. You'll live. Thank me later, Midoriya, All for One says, letting go of my head, letting it hit the ground. With that, my vision goes back. Chapter 18, All for One. Back from Midoriya's point of view, we see him waking up in an empty room. A small lamp lighting up the room. I look around, and behind me I find All for One. I quickly jump away. Did I die or something? Because this seems like hell. Okay, seriously, what happened, I think to myself, while staring at All for One. Sneaking up on me wasn't the kindest thing too. Wasn't the kindest thing. To make up for it, why don't you tell me where I am and why I'm here, I say. I helped you, Midoriya. I furrowed my eyebrows a bit, annoyed that he ignored me. Listen, I don't have time for a monologue. Tell me where I am and why I'm here. Maybe you'll get it now. All for One snaps his finger, causing an immense amount of pain to go through my body, causing me to fall to my knees and scream. Memories of mine flash through my mind, only making the pain more extreme. I look up towards All for One, despise the pain, and he's reaching down for me. His eyes once again mesmerizing me. His hand then reaches for my face, causing all the pain to go away. Midoriya, take this as a gift. I thank you for proving society wrong on the quirkless. Then, I start to feel something entering my face, coming from his hand. It hurts, but I don't scream. I just stare at his eyes, slowly forgetting everything. Then start to close my eyes, but I'm stopped when All for One removes his hand from my face. I look at him, and he's becoming transparent. Looks like my time's coming to an end. I didn't get to erase your memory, but I did give you the quirk. Farewell, Midoriya. In a blink of an eye, I'm all of a sudden laying down in a bed, facing a bright light in the ceiling. Hospital, I call it. I sit up and chuckle as I'm faced with the hospital room. What a weird nightmare. No, it couldn't have been a nightmare. It seemed too realistic with the events happening. If it's true, what's my quirk and how will I know what it... I slammed my hands against my mouth, realizing I was mumbling, but also because of the fact I heard nearby noises. Midoriya's awake. Can we see him? Is he in good condition? Quiet, let her talk. I thought you said he'd be in a coma. It's only been a day. He was meant to be, but he isn't. We don't know the reason, but let's not complain. Of course you can see him. Come follow me. If it's true, he gave me a quirk. He must have given me a hearing enhancement quirk since I felt I heard their voices so clearly, almost as if they were in this room. My thoughts are interrupted by the door knob turning and people entering the room. A nurse? Shoto, Bakugo, Kirishima, Momo, Ida, and Aizawa. Midoriya, how do you know who we are? Aizawa asks. Duh. My response causes the nurse's eyes to widen. I raise an eyebrow at her. You were meant to have severe memory loss once you woke up. It's a miracle, the nurse says enthusiastically. You idiot, why'd you do that for me? Bakugo shouts. The shout surprisingly hurts my ears. I cover them quickly. Don't yell. Also, Sensei, can I talk to you alone? I say, still covering my ears. Of course, Midoriya. I would also like to invite All Might, Nezu, and Tsukachi. I nod. I said alone, but whatever. I may also have to stay in the room just in case anything were to happen. I just roll my eyes. Everyone but Aizawa and the nurse exit the room. We were just waiting for the others to arrive. Sometime later they do, and All Might says, "Young Midoriya, I'm glad you're okay," in a skeleton-looking form. "You haven't been informed?" "I'll do the honors," All Might says. I nod. After All For One teleported everyone out of our grasp, I made my way to the Nomu facility they had, and lo and behold, you were all there. Upon arrival, I saw you unconscious. I fought All For One for a while before your classmates intervened, getting you out of that area to this hospital. All For One got the other villains out of the way, so we fought alone. I ended up winning, but my true identity was revealed. I sat there still trying to process everything that was just said with a little bit of help, and I was finally able to understand everything. Sorry to interrupt, but I say this to the teachers. Midoriya may not want to be asked questions so suddenly after just getting out of a traumatic event. The nurse says, "It's fine. I appreciate the thought, but I'll be fine," I say. When I enter the room, "Young Midoriya, you were strapped to a table with burn marks and scars. What did they do to you?" All Might said. Suddenly, saying this earned a hint with a cane from a nurse. "Well, they tortured me. I have no idea why, but I think it was a test for..." I stopped. Do I really want to tell them? What if they think wrongly of me? "You were saying?" All Might said. I jumped at his words, looking around at everyone. I saw their eyes locked onto mine. It was a test for an injection, to see if I was able to handle it. I was indeed injected with it, but I have no idea what it did to me. Lie. You do know. I turned my head to see Tsukachi. Lie detector man. "Midoriya, what did it do?" Nezu asked sternly, surprising many people in the room, including myself. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't terrified at everyone's glances. I took a deep breath before speaking. Once I was injected, I passed out, and then I had a nightmare where I was in a room with All For One. He said something like, "Thank you for proving society wrong on the quirk list." Then he said something like, "My time is running out. Take this quirk as my gift." Then I woke up. Everyone in the room started to stare at me with wide eyes. They looked as if they wanted to jump me. "Midoriya, do you know what the quirk is?" Aizawa said as he stood up. "Well, I believe it's simply hearing enhancement," All Might gasped. I believe it's only hearing enhancement." All Might gasped. I turned to him to see he was reaching for me. I jumped out of my bed. "Midoriya, calm down. I want to see your neck. The burn. It's gone." My eyes go wide. I run to the bathroom, locking the door. Ignoring the banging on the bathroom door, I look in the mirror to see a huge red scar where the burn mark was. I look on my wrist to see the red scars there too. "What did you do to me?" "All For One?"